Yeah, it's a something. It's one thing to applaud that, but let's move into prayer and know that for ourselves. To know that for ourselves. Otherwise, we're knowing what somebody else knew. We're knowing what they sang. But in this particular community, we want to incorporate all that is good within our own soul so that our soul might lift us up into a new view of things. So join me in knowing deep within ourselves. And because we do know, see, this is it. We're only here to remember. We're only here to rehearse the script that's already within our soul. Our soul already says that we are so much more than we have forgotten. And so to know within ourselves that there is something that is our strength, is the strength of our life, and the life that we live is that one life, and it lives us beautifully, wonderfully, perfectly, gloriously. No matter what we're going through, there's something good waiting to bloom in the midst of it so that we can be lifted out of the muck and the mire, or we can be lifted even to more glorious expressions of life. There is one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect in its expression. And that life is my life, your life, our life now. And that's worth a hallelujah, amen. And so you can hear them sing amen, or you can sing it with them. Let's sing amen. Thank you for being here. Thank you for all of you that are online, whether it's live streaming, Facebook, or YouTube. However you found us, I'm grateful that you are with us, because hopefully it's really hard to duplicate the buzz in the room. It's hard to duplicate the energy. What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. What's the buzz? Tell me what's happening. Oh, I love Jake. But we must forgive him. He knows not Andrew Lloyd Webber yet. I know. That's what I mean. It's like, but he will. We're already ready for Jesus Christ Superstar next year, right? Why not? But for those of you that are here for the very first time, or for those of you that need to be reminded, I want to tell you a little bit about what we're about. Ernest Holmes, the founder of this philosophy and way of life, was asked, can you explain what you're all about in like 50 words or less? And how many of you have tried that? And the way you do it is, well, we're not unity, but we're similar. Why don't you just join me sometime? How many of you have ever gone that route? Like, how do we explain it? Well, I want to share with you. I think this is brilliant, what Ernest Holmes came up with. I think it's brilliant. We are a teaching that is a synthesis of the discoveries of science, the opinions of philosophy, and the revelations of religion applied to human needs and aspirations. So, yes, it's a good conversation, but if it doesn't help on the human level, what good is it? If I was going to put it in a little simpler terms, I would say that we teach spiritual technology that heals hurts and builds dreams. That's what we're about. Well, thank you. I had no idea. If I'm getting applause in the introduction, I can't wait for the rest of the service. It's like, this is just wild. So those of you that are online, I encourage you to participate in this community by sharing a little bit about yourself online, not maybe where you're from, this is my first time, whatever, a little bit about yourself, or maybe I've been coming for years. It doesn't matter. We'd like to know more about you. I'd like to know more about you. And Reverend Abigail and I look through all the comments later. I can't do it right now because I'm busy, but I do look through them later, and I'm glad to have your feedback. So for those of you that are here, we have in the seat backs in front of you these wonderful packet of information, and one of them is a connection card. A little bit about us, what are we about, but then a connection card, because if you fill this out, we will put you on our email list, and there's so much going on, so much going on. It seems like it's about Sunday, but it's every day of the week we have something, and we have so many ways to support you, so many support groups to support you in your triumphs and your creativity and your expression, and also in the low times. We want to be there for you in any way we can. So those are available to you. Please feel free to fill this out. And you can put it in the collection basket later. Yes, we do have a collection basket. And we also have a registration table in the lobby, and you can leave your connection cards there. We are so grateful that you might fill one of these out. Those are all the things I have to say. Let's hear more music from our fabulous choir.
Sing your song as
Okay, so I don't have to tell you that you can clap, stand up, sing along. In a lot of communities, which is perfectly okay because every community gets to have their own normal behavior, which is appropriate. It's like if you go to someone's house and they want you to take off your shoes, then you take off your shoes. At this particular place, if you want to sing along and clap, great. It's dive on in and get it all over you kind of place. Let the Spirit move you if it chooses to. So I just have to say, I really trust God. My wonderful personal assistant or executive assistant, I'm not sure what she does, she's my right-hand person, we talk about Monday miracles. And so here's the miracle. God said, dress this way to go with the choir. Like, we don't talk. Anyway, wild. I mean, God and I talk, but we didn't talk. So this is wild. I love this. You have jumped into the fourth or last part of a 4-part series about the teachings of Jesus and how we can be followers of the way. Now, this is not a discourse on the Mandalorian. This is a discourse on the teachings of Jesus. Because people who followed Jesus called themselves followers of the way. It was a long time after that the term Christians or Christianity got started. So, even though I said that we are a synthesis of the revelations of religion, I love the revelations that can come through the teachings of Jesus and not just his words, but also the way that he lived, because I want to live that way. I want to live that way. I want that kind of influence over my own reactions. I want to feel free to be my best self, no matter what the circumstances are. I want that kind of power. And so I want to be a follower of the way. And Ernest Holmes, in his meditations for self-help, must have felt the same way, because he wrote a meditation that says, the way is made clear to me, and he capitalizes way. The way is made clear to me, and I do not falter or fall. The way of spirit is my way, and I am compelled to walk in it. My feet are kept on the path of perfect life. The way is prepared before me, and the way is a path of peace, of fulfillment and joy. The way is bright with the light of love and kindness. The way I tread is pleasant and happy. I want that way. I want that way. So the teachings, when I'm looking at it, especially in the Gospel of John, the teachings weren't so much, although they included what he said, but they were also how he lived. How he lived. Emma Curtis Hopkins says in Bible Interpretations that all stories of Jesus' preaching and miracles were divinely significant. Nothing is by accident. They were included because they were teaching parables or metaphors or examples. So we used Good Friday. I always wondered, if you take some interpretations of Good Friday, it's like, what was good about it? But anyway. I'm just wondering. But it is good if you could see how he reacted to things and let that be your example. In this particular teachings, we do not see him as an exception, but as an example. And I can grow into that kind of consciousness that he exemplified. It's a growth. So in the last hours of his life, that's what we looked at on Friday, is how did he live through tough times? And they were tough times. Tough times. Really. Radical forgiveness. Abandoned, betrayed, given up. And yet he could say, forgive them. They know not what they do. That takes a high elevation of consciousness. I mean, I'm pretty good. I don't get upset when somebody cuts me off on the freeway. That anymore. Elevation. It's baby steps, baby steps. But recently I had the experience of being so misunderstood. And I wanted to be understood. Make myself be understood. How many of you have ever been there? Yeah, I'm going to sit you down and you're going to understand. No. I didn't do that. But it went through my whole heart a little bit. It's like, oh, Kathianne, get over it. Whatever is going on, Spirit's in the midst of this. Let me forgive. Like, it's not worth heartache. How many of you would rather be right than healed? And yet, the illustration is be healed, be made whole. Again and again and again and again. I also got to talk about the inspiration to lean into Spirit and let Spirit lead, even when it looks like a dark time. And we've all done that. How many of you have gone through dark times and you came out on the other side and went, wow, that turned out so much better than I thought? And then the next time it happens and I don't know. Maybe that was a fluke. But maybe it's a way of life. Maybe we could live that way. Maybe that's the way. Maybe that's the way. And then the other thing that I think was really prevalent in the story of what we looked at on Friday night was that he said, let your heart be comforted because the Holy Spirit will come in my name, meaning the way that I do things, but I've got to go or else you can't receive it. Why? Because you're looking to me too much. Wow, what a way. Like, don't look to me. Look to what I am looking to. Be filled with what I'm filled with. And don't we do that? Don't we look to person, place, or thing to somehow save us? And then we'll be okay? It's like, no, eventually, when we can really turn to that power within, that strength and that life and that peace, we might get reminders from others. We know that it's Spirit speaking to us through them, not them. They don't have the power. And that's what he was trying to say. Don't look to me. Follow me, but don't worship me. This is my interpretation. But you get my interpretation because anytime you go to any spiritual center, you're just going to get their interpretation. And mine is just as good as anybody else's. But what you have to ask yourself is, does this interpretation free you up to be your spiritual magnificence? By their fruits you shall know them. By the fruits of the message you shall know if the message is true. Are you inspired and empowered to live closer to your God and thereby have more harmony, peace, and comfort in your life? And the feeling that you can live the life you're called to live. If that's true, then this message might be for you. So let's move on to, I put down here, what I was thinking of is this is, the rebirth day, but actually it was his coming out party. Some of you are brave enough to laugh at that. Others of you are like, I can't believe she said that. So what happened is he became known. He proved that that life is immortal, love is eternal, and life is and death is but a horizon. He proved that we go on. He proved it. Now, some people will believe that it was a physical, brought the body back. Some people will believe that he just made himself known to his followers. I don't really care. That's for you and your God to figure out for yourself. But it doesn't change the fact that he was known and continued to teach. Emma Curtis Hopkins wrote that Jesus of Nazareth, or Joshua ben Joseph of Nazareth, was so full of the understanding that there was nothing to him, in him, or of him except Christ or the truth. He understood himself as the Christ. He became like, and that's what we're moving into. How many of you could say and know, how many of you have said that you are a spiritual being having a human experience? Yeah, there's saying it and there's knowing it. When you know it, you are different. You see things differently, you react to things differently, you consider things differently. It's a different story. And he came to the place where he saw himself as such a spiritual being that he understood that God lived as him, in him, through him, and that all that was being done, and he's watching. That's why he could say, if you see me, you've seen the source. Father could be, in Aramaic, could be interpreted as the source as well as father, origin. If you see me, you see the origin of all things. And it's not me doing it. How many of you have had that experience? See, we've all had these experiences, but what if they were normal, like every day? How many of you have had times when something, you just watched yourself do something and you just like, I'm just watching. And you're saying things and you're helping people, I'm just watching. How many of you react differently than you thought you would? I'm just watching. How many of you have said something and a miracle happens? Come on. Yeah. What if that was so normal? And that would be the way. But it was a way, not a one-up. Or, well, that was interesting. Happened 10 years ago. Still resonates. Like, why not last week? Because that would be the way. He said, where I am in consciousness, you can be also. Ernest Holmes defined the Christ as the total manifestation of God from plant to angel, from peanut to the entire universe of expression. So to be the Christ is to know that God is expressing in you, as you, and through you. And it loved the idea of you so much that you came to be. And you're so unique, and that it expresses in a unique and perfect way. Whoa, that would create a little self-love. Geez, God thought I was perfect. Yeah. So what if I walk with a limp or whatever? You know, have that past. I am an expression of the divine. So, what do we have to learn for this day? This day when he presented himself to others. We get to learn that the Christ, the God presence, will show up for us in a way that we can comprehend. Those people who lived at that time were still wondering about his existence. So we came to them. But here's the weird part. Oh, by the way, there's so much to say about this. Jesus isn't the only way God presents itself. What we know from near-death experiences is that whatever you would be comfortable with, that's how it shows up to you. So if you would be comfortable with light, it shows up as light. If it would be comfortable with a grandparent, it shows up as a grandparent. If you would be comfortable with a different symbol, that's how it shows up. In all of the studies of near-death experiences by all of the people that study it, Hindu people have never seen Jesus. Ever. And Jewish people haven't either. Because that would be like, oh, whoa. Oh, no, because it shows up in a loving way, because it wants to love and it wants to embrace and make the people who are going through this kind of transition feel comfortable and okay. Well, the same thing was happening for these people that were left behind that had followed him for so long. Now, here's the weird thing. They didn't recognize him. None of them. So, there's nobody in the tomb. The apostles scurry off, or three of the disciples scurry off. Mary Magdalene's still there crying. Oh, Mary of Magdala is still crying, and then she sees a gardener, and she says, have you taken his body? Tell me where his body is. I want to go. I'll take it. Just let me have him. And he says, Mary. No, well, we don't know he did that. What we do know is that he said, Mary, and she woke up. It's like, oh, it's you. Now, I just find it so interesting that someone that was so close to him couldn't recognize him. And I think sometimes we don't recognize people when they shift and change. Now, we may see them, we know their personality, but we don't recognize what's going on for them. Have you experienced that? Like you go back to one of your class reunions, and you are yourself, and it's like, who, what? It's they see your face, but they don't recognize what's happening in you. Because I asked myself this, God, why would this story be told? This must be told for an important reason. Why is this? And I think it's because, well, two things. They don't recognize this, and then the story goes on, and she reaches out, because now she knows who it is. And she goes, Rabboni, which is a pet name for rabbi. And she reaches for him. He says, don't cling to me, for I have not yet ascended. And if I was going to make this my story, it's that when we're on a path, some people want to keep us in a way that they're familiar with us. Like, really? Don't move on. We were having such a good time. How many of you have experienced that sometimes you have to leave people, and they want you to stay the way you were because that makes them comfortable? And you can't. Some of you that are in a 12-step movement know that sometimes you can't hang out there. And they want you to. No, I'm not saying that she wanted to, but I think, why would this story be told except that when we know that we are moving up in consciousness, when our soul is being lifted up, there will be times when we have to say, I won't be doing that anymore. Don't cling to me. Don't make me stay here. I think that's one of the reasons I moved from Eugene to Seattle, because I was working the program. The Science of Mind program. I had my vision map. My treasure map. I was doing my affirmations. I was doing treatments. I was getting practitioners that pray for me. I was reading. I was forgiving. I was seeing myself as a new person. And I was demonstrating and demonstrating and demonstrating and demonstrating. And I went from Springfield to the South Eugene Hills. I had a view. I had a beautiful duplex. I had a new car. I went from being a clerk to having a 18 counties territory that I was the boss of. I mean, everything was going wonderfully. And then I had friends going, wow, you're really changing. And they said it kind of that way. And it was such a temptation to dummy myself down because I loved those people. And we can't. Don't hold me back, is what the Christ is saying. Even in your own conversation, don't let comfort hold you back. Then he goes on, and he's seen by the disciples, and they don't recognize him, and then they do, and there's all sorts of demonstrations about that. But I love this last story, because he's gone for a while. So Peter says, what are we supposed to do? I mean, I said to do stuff, but what are we supposed to do? I think I'll go fish. And then some other disciples said, yeah, we'll go fishing with you, because what are they going to do? I mean, they've left everything. Who knows what it was like to be one of his followers when he wasn't around, so let's just go fishing. So they're fishing all night. And this guy shows up on the shore and says, hey, put the net over on the other side. They still don't recognize him. Put the net over on the other side. Like, that makes sense. I mean, think about it. You're fishing on one side, and if you just put it on the other side, something will happen. It's like the fish see the line down the boat, and they're going, stay on this side. They never put the net on this side. They're all right-handed. If you stay on the left side, we're safe. So they take the net and they put it over on the other side. And it says they have so heavy they can barely bring the net back into the boat. I bet that was Jesus. Sure, Jesus. So they row. When they get to the shore, they find that he's already started a fire and he's got fish on the barbie. I mean, it really does. He's cooking fish for them. What's that story? Why would they tell that story? I think it's that no matter where you are, the Christ is going to meet you there and help you. There's nothing too low. There's nothing too mundane. There's nothing too secular for Spirit to help you with. All that fish was prosperity. So if you think to be spiritual, you have to avoid prosperity, that's not this lesson. If you think you have to go hungry and go without to be a spiritual person, that's not this lesson. Because the Christ will meet us wherever we are. The Spirit of God will meet us wherever we are. He's already said that the Comforter will be with you no matter what you're going through. And then they're sitting around, and I'm just making this up because I have to fill in the gaps. So they're sitting around the campfire, eating fish, and he asks them 3 times, do you love me? Now, and the Christ is going to say that to us. And it's not the Christ, it's that Spirit of God within you that's growing within you, that's evolving and maturing. And it's going to say, are you one with me enough to trust me? Have we grown close enough that you can really follow me, or are you still going to go off and try to do it on your own? And 3 times, Peter says, oh, no, I love you. And 3 times Jesus says, and he says it 3 different ways, feed my lambs, feed my sheep, feed my ewes. And I'm just going to make this up because the bucks must be on their own. Don't bless them, but those 3 I want you to feed. He said, feed them. And the guru to Ram Dass, when he was asked, and he was about to die, he said, Ram Dass and other followers said, well, what are we to do? And he said, feed people. Now, some people interpret that literally, but I don't interpret it literally. Because Jesus also said, eat of my words, take in my words. So if we're going to feed people, let's feed them the words. Let's take them into the place and then feed them. Tell them the good news. Tell them wonderful things like, yea, Spirit is with you always. And you are forgiven. And there's a power within you greater than what's outside of you. And miracles should be normal. And you can't even comprehend the blessings that will come to you if you just love God. To feed people that. How many of you know what it's like to be fed a line? Well, how about feeding them that line? To be fed that line. So I want to end with this. When Jesus said, eat of my words, I think before we can feed others, we have to eat of these words. And what he said was, the Father and I are one. I'm going to change that a little bit. The source of all life and I are one. So let's say that. The source of all life and I are one. He said this, and I remember the first time I said it just automatically, because I remember sitting in my prayer chair in my house in Magnolia, and I'm doing my spiritual practice, and all of a sudden I said out of nowhere, I'm the way, the truth, and the life, and went, oh, wow, is that blasphemous? But it just came out of me. See, if he said, follow me, he said, eat of my words, so why wouldn't I be the way? Why wouldn't I be the incarnation of truth? Why wouldn't I be the life of God? See, we're either coming from our small self, our wounded self, or don't get too big, or we're coming from that place that says, guess what? All that was good in any great master is good within us. It's no different than Gandhi being asked, well, what's your message? And Gandhi said, my life is my message. This way is my way. So for those of you that are up for it, I want you to repeat after me, I am the way, the truth, and the life. I am the way, the truth, and the life. Jesus said, greater things than these ye shall do also. So let's just change it a little bit. Greater things than those I shall do also. Greater things than those I shall do also. Whew, how's that feel? You know, hopefully it tickles a memory, because we're not here to get anything new. I'm just throwing stuff out. If it is the truth, it will go off in you at the exact right time in the exact right way, because that's what truth does. Let us pray. I just give thanks for this moment. I give thanks for this wonderful celebration of the truth rising up inside of us and showing us its completeness and its glory. I give thanks that we have an opportunity to know that it's not ourselves that lifts us up. It is something great within us, and it's old within us. It is the spark of the divine that has been with us always. And just as the bulb comes out of the hard, cold winter ground, we have forgotten and could forget, but it doesn't matter, because the Spirit of God is always waiting for the moisture of prayer, waiting for the warmth of faith, and waiting for the opportunity to show its grandeur. This is the truth of our life. Thank you, God, that we're here to remember together. What fun is that? So it is.